Hi everyone, welcome to Artist Talk. I'm your host, Juliana Forero, and today we're talking with Missy Pierce to find out how she uses color and humor in her artwork. Hi Missy, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here.
Well, thank you, Juliana. It's good to see you.
I want to start talking about how your artwork is colorful, is vibrant, but you managed to bring these conversations on identity and migration. They're sometimes really hard to bring into discussion. How did you get started on these conversations and using color to talk about them?
Oh, that's a great question. There's a lot of different answers to that, a lot of influences, but the color comes from my own hybrid identity. I grew up in the desert. Everything was beige and neutrals, but I always spent my summers in South America, so everything was vibrant. There was a lot of Afro-Caribbean influence in color. So when I'm exploring my own hybrid identity, of course, I'm getting into all those crazy, wonderful colors that influenced me so much as a child.
I've been reading about your bio, and can we dig a little bit more about your background and how you grow and how do you incorporate these different identities? Now you can see them into your artwork. Can we dig a little bit deeper on that?
Sure. Well, we all have complex senses of identity. It's not really something that's unique to me, but I think it's more pressing now. Because of world events, starting with the migration from Syria, and then what's happening in Latin America. I just read The Beast, and it's amazing, this whole concept of displacement and movement, and it reaches all of us, no matter what our background is. So I'm very curious about that. And it's not about a political point of view. I think my whole intention is to create a dialogue and invite some empathy, especially when it's so much easier just to say, well, the law says blah, blah, blah. But, look what's happening in the world. We're part of this world system. So I bring that all into my work because of what's going on in the world today.
What I find really refreshing looking at your work is that you also have these conversations of current world events, but besides being vibrant, it has color, it has a lot of humor into it. So you really invite the people to start reading what your pieces are about. And as a viewer, you start digging into these different layers of information that you're giving us, then you realize that, wow, I'm not looking only at beautifully and greatly aesthetically pleasant artwork, but I'm actually facing what could be a difficult conversation. So it's something that you're using humor so intelligently that I really appreciate that. And I want us to talk a little bit about your collage work, because when you were an artist in residence at Bailey Contemporary Arts, I was used to seeing your pieces were fairly large. And when we were looking into the pieces for this exhibition, you shared with me the collages, which I also find on Instagram, on your Instagram. And what I like about those is like now this reading of the artwork is more intimate because they seem to be smaller. So can you talk about how this change happened? Do you still create larger pieces? So can you take us through that thought process?
Sure. The collage went back to about the time of 2016. And you pointed out that it's more intimate, and it is more about a conversation rather than a loud, in-your-face painting. Like I used to make a lot more of those. I think what's happened is it's hinging on a yearning for connection, and we've become so divisive. I've seen it in the politics, and even in my own family. And the result of that is, no matter what side we're on, we're yearning for connections that are lost. We become disconnected. So I think what's happened without planning is I have reached for something smaller, something more nuanced, to invite a dialogue, to invite a conversation, because I'm yearning for connection, like we all are. So the collage is the perfect medium for that.
And that makes me curious about, I mean, at this point, the current times that we're living, where we are doing connection more virtually, how are you adapting to, the initial lockdown? How did your artwork, are you creating something new? Can you share with us how this current situation has affected you and your creative work?
Well, you can see I'm in my home studio rather than my my studio at the Arts Warehouse in Delray Beach. So it's much smaller. I have fewer materials. I don't paint at home, so it's just more, I'm continuing with the collage work, but I'm getting even smaller, which surprises me. I've made a whole series of 3x4 collages, and it just feels right at this time. But I think the connection to COVID is we have all, learned to nest in a new environment. We're not going out to work every day. We're not on busy schedules. So I can only work in small bites of times because I have children that are home on school, and I have a busy household like you do, I know. And so I've just gotten smaller, and I've just resigned myself to work in small bits. I don't have the luxury anymore of concentrating for hours at a time on a project. I work in small bites, and I'm doing a lot more of public art, which involves connecting with, our common spaces and the outdoors. And that's related to COVID, because that's what we're missing. We're missing being out at the beach. We're missing being out at the courtyard and interacting and watching people go by. So I'm doing more public art, and I'm working on pieces that will be out in the public spaces. And in future days, I hope people will be able to interact with them.
That's wonderful to know. I know that you have one of the fishes in Pompano Beach. You're very active in the Pompano Beach community. And I personally am thrilled to be working with you, putting this exhibition together. I want to ask you, I mean, is there a piece in particularly in this exhibition that are you really excited to share with the community?
Actually, yeah, there's a lot that I'm excited about. I'm so looking forward to this exhibition. But I think the piece that speaks the most to this series on displacement is called Rootless. And it's one of my imaginary landscapes where it looks at first glance something familiar, perhaps a garden, maybe a desert scene. When you look more closely, you're wondering, is that even this planet? These strange creatures that looked initially like cactuses are obviously not. And the creature that's the centerpiece, it could be anything from an octopus with feelers crawling on a horizon to a flower. And it encapsulates what the whole point of the series is, because we find ourselves, when we're looking at this piece, we're trying so desperately to categorize. What are we looking at? Is this black? Is this white? Is this familiar? Is it unfamiliar? And it's kind of what we do with unfamiliar people we meet. It's like, okay, we try to find what we have in common. So I really like this piece because it seems to draw people in and make them ask those questions, and then step back and wonder, why am I trying so hard to categorize and classify?
And I mean, it's perfect because that it seems that it resonates with what the title of the exhibition is, Unfamiliar Ground, and how we peel different layers to understand ourselves, to read what others are about. Missy, so as we are talking about displacement, we're living in these current times. We're looking at art in different ways right now. We're seeing more virtual tours. We're being exposed to new artists via videos and websites. So for the people looking at your artwork right now, today, for the first time, or the people the galleries were to be open, when people see your work for the first time, what would you like them to take away from that experience?
Well, that's a great question. I guess I would like them to find commonalities rather than differences for a change. And that goes with the title of the exhibition, Unfamiliar Ground. Even though we all are on unfamiliar ground right now, we still have so many wonderful commonalities, and one of those is the need to connect. And whether it's through conversations or through looking at art, and especially with my art, I hope it's not intimidating. I hope people feel comfortable peering in and say, oh, look, there's a Lego, or things they recognize. So I guess that would be my intention, is to draw people in and to find commonality even in these unfamiliar times.
Well, there you have it. Unfamiliar ground during unfamiliar times. We're all even exploring our own situation daily with homeschooled and all these new situations we're all facing. So I want to thank you, Missy, so much for your time today, sharing with us what this exhibition is about and what we can expect from your artwork. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Juliana. It was wonderful to see you again. I can't wait till I get to see you in person.
Me
All right,
too.
bye-bye.
Bye.